Hey folks, sometimes the internet can be a confusing place, whether that's because you don't know why the computer screen is offering you cookies, I mean come on, not got any brownies? Or because your favourite video game series has some questionable rumours floating around that are very hard to believe. But yet, they bother you because where did they start? Is there any validity to them? And is the Legend of Zelda series going to come to an end with the release of Breath of the Wild sequel? Let's talk about that. Be sure to go and grab yourself a snack or drink. My gosh, you're gonna need it, and send them in to get featured right here. Also be sure to drop a like and subscribe if you haven't already, it really helps the channel out, and let's get into this one. So to get right to the point, some people in the Zelda community have been asking, is the sequel to Breath of the Wild going to be the last Zelda game? Often worried whilst asking. I don't know where this started, and I'm gonna try to get to the bottom of it, or at least address this. Now, whilst we can't say for sure, I'm guessing either somebody suggested it, and it stupidly took off across the internet causing panic, or a news page made up a bad rumour for easy clicks. It happens more often than you'd think. Especially when you open up Google on your phone, I often get some strange headlines regarding video game news, often fake news. Either way, my good Hylia, is this a horrible rumour? Like what? Breath of the Wild, the game that just made this sequel happen, was an all-time high for the Zelda series, and not just by a bit. Breath of the Wild massively broke the record for the most sold Zelda game, dragging the series' sales from steady decline to insanely rapid record-breaking growth. Combined with the release of Nintendo Switch, the Zelda series unlocked a whole new audience when Breath of the Wild released. Not just that, but it also brought back a ton of old-school Zelda fans who hadn't touched the game in years. Breath of the Wild blew up and is now considered one of the best open world games of all time. Note, it's the first open world Zelda, with exception to the 1986 The Legend of Zelda. It's the first modern open world Zelda. Get all of that information considered right now. Got it? Speaking to those who might actually think the sequel will be the end. Why on earth would Nintendo want to end their very long-term successful franchise, one of their best sellers in general by the way, after just one more game after the big blow-up game? They wouldn't. Now I'm not saying that there will be a third game to the Breath of the Wild era, I mean there could be, I'm just not saying it necessarily has to be. But after the sequel releases, whether it is well received or poorly received, there will be more Zelda games, mark my words. If you look at all of Nintendo's big sellers, you've got the obvious Mr. Nintendo himself, Super Mario. Then you look to the likes of Zelda, Animal Crossing and Pokemon. Then you'd probably look to the likes of Kirby, Xenoblade, Splatoon and Metroid and so on. Put it this way, as harsh as this will probably sound to the other games, but trust me, I'm just using it to prove my point, one of Nintendo's smaller series, so to say, in comparison anyway, would stop being made before one of their top 5, hell I'd even say top 3 best sellers, The Legend of Zelda, stops being made. The Legend of Zelda series isn't going anywhere anytime soon. They've found their place in the modern world of video games, and this is just their first game in this new era of Zelda. They made linear story Zelda work for over 25 years, spanning over 10 plus games, not including spin-offs. I don't think they'll be stopping open world Zelda after just 2 mainline games in the open world style. Now, if you're not really sure why I'm making this video, or have maybe never even heard of these rumours, it's because I've seen a good few people on social media express concerns regarding this, often reaching out to me and at me on Twitter, and I honestly wanted to make this video to say, relax. And even if you haven't heard of these rumours, you're reassured anyway. There is a very low chance that this game will be the last in the series. Technically, I can't give you 100% reassurance as I can't predict the future, but logically speaking, I'd put it somewhere in the 99.9% region in terms of likelihood of there being more games after the sequel. Zelda is at an all-time high going into this sequel. I'm sure there are many more years of amazing adventures to come. Plus, Breath of the Wild looks to be the game that has started a new part of the timeline, taking place so far ahead of every other game that we often just consider this the outcome of all timelines. That's debatable of course, but it sits so far ahead of every other game in the timeline that any game taking place after it should just make a new linear line of chronological events. I'm sure that's something the developers will want to build on beyond the sequel. Now, whilst we're on the topic of the future of The Legend of Zelda beyond Breath of the Wild 2, what could we see? Where do Nintendo go from a sequel to the most successful Zelda game ever? Well, that really depends on how the sequel is received. If it's anywhere close to the first game, and fans love it, then I'd personally be open to them making a third piece to this puzzle if they could see fit to do so. I'm dreaming here, but think of it like 3 parts to the Triforce, 3 long stories and adventures linking up in the grand scheme of things. Breath of the Wild, the sequel to Breath of the Wild, and then the sequel to the sequel. It'd be cool if there was enough story potential to build on. If the game is not well received, then I think they'll leave the era of Breath of the Wild and its sequel and create a brand new Zelda game in its own time frame, hopefully taking place after Breath of the Wild timeline wise, working on the new linear timeline I mentioned. The main point here is, no, the highly anticipated sequel to the best-selling Zelda game of all time, and arguably the best Zelda game of all time, will not be the end of the Legend of Zelda series. The only thing you really have to worry about with this sequel is when it will be coming out. That's something to maybe have some concern over. Hello? Hey there. Still there? Okay, while we're still here, I do want to ask, hypothetically, if the series was to end with this upcoming game, touch wood, how would you see that happening? In terms of the story, if it was to be the end, what epic send-off would the series have? A big final showdown for the ages with Ganondorf, a reunion with Fi, the ending of Demise's curse. There's nothing to say that these mentioned ideas won't be in the game already, and obviously it not being the last game of the series, but as weird as it is to say, hypothetically speaking, and good Hylia, emphasis on hypothetically, how would you see and or want the series to end if it was the case? Personally, I'd want a bit of everything. I'd want to see Fi in the flesh one final time. I want to have the grandest of grand battles with Ganondorf, finishing him off once and for all. Then after that's done, thinking the game is beat, Demise, the Demon King that started it all, rises and begins shredding the kingdom to pieces, and our final goal, the final quest in Hyrule, put an end to Demise, once and for all. Let me know down below in the comments your hypothetical series finale. Although I don't think it will be the case, I am interested to know how you think the series would hypothetically, or should hypothetically, come to a conclusion, and maybe I'll make a fun little video on your thoughts if there are enough comments to go through. Anyway, that's all for today folks. If you enjoyed, be sure to drop a like and consider subscribing to the channel. Both are very helpful and highly appreciated. Shout out to all of my supporters across Patreon and YouTube. If you'd like to join them and get yourself a shout out upon joining and your name at the end of every video, then consider supporting. It's a huge help to running the channel. Again, thanks for watching. I hope you all have a wonderful day or night, and until the next time, I've been Hyrule Gamer.